Well, Mum and Dad moved back from South Africa in 1982.
We just came up to see whether it would suit us to work here because it belonged to my wife's father. The sawmill industry in her family goes back well into the 1800s when it was all done by steam engines, and her great-grandmother was a very renowned sawmiller from Dornoch further north. Her grandfather was, and her father Duncan as well, of course.
Yeah, so Duncan was my grandfather. He was a bit of a sort of Highland rogue, I guess that's how you would describe him. He bought an ex-Norwegian tank, and he used to drive around in the 60s and take that up stag shooting with his friends. So about 4 or 5 of them would pile into the back of this old German tank with a bottle of whiskey and some shotguns and drive up into the hills.
He started in steam engines and he came here after the war and set up here. My earliest memories about 35 years ago coming here, and it was just a sea of mud with a little wooden hut in the middle of it. We were cutting hardwoods and long softwoods in those days. And it was pretty rudimentary, and we lived from hand to mouth. Our major source of equipment was the local scrapyard. We would buy stuff out of that and see if we could modify it to do what we wanted. So we've always bought second-hand and made do and mend. And as time's gone by, we've become more and more sophisticated until now we're right into electronics and computer control and this sort of thing.
I started working here at the sawmill when I was 13 in the summer holidays. So every summer holidays I would be looking for a wee bit of cash to go out and buy skateboards and snowboards and that sort of thing. So I would come and just stack logs, or my favourite one was I would be the guy putting the point on the fence posts, and I would get through about 200-300 fence posts in a day, and then the big machine would drop off more logs and I would have to put the post on them, stack them up again. And so I did that from when I was about 13 till I was about 18 every summer, and so I got to know most of the folk here in the sawmill quite well. WoodBlocX was invented by a man called Norman Fawcett, who had a nursery in Conan Bridge, and he was in his nursery one day and wanted to build some raised beds, and so he came to us here in the sawmill and he bought some sections of old wood that we had lying around, and he went home and he got out his drill and drilled holes down through these sections of wood, stacked them on top of each other, and then he got broom handles which he then put down through the holes, and that was basically, that day was when the idea of WoodBlocX was sort of born. And he came back to Dad then at the sawmill and showed Dad the idea that he'd had. So he said, yeah, I think we could probably make something out of this. It seems to be a good, sustainable, strong product that we can find a place for in the market. So they launched it into the UK market in 2002 through B&Q and Wickes and all the other big trade department stores. And there was about 50 or 60 shops that were retailing it through the country. But we found that because the product needs really bespoke set of instructions for every design. So every different shape or size of raised beds has a different set of instructions, just like a giant Lego kit really. So people didn't really pick up on it at that stage. And so that was when we decided to call it quits, was I think 2004, after 2 years in the market, and nothing really moved that much.
I think one of the biggest challenges was making the drilling machine to drill the holes accurately and quickly, which sounds very easy. Anyone can drill a hole in a piece of wood, but to drill it just the right size, just in, very quickly and at the right spacing, get everything right so that the product works, that was quite a challenge, yes. There's always more engineering challenges. You can always do it better.
One of the first things I did when I came back to work on WoodBlocX was think about how we could get the product in front of as many people as we could. And everyone that I spoke to about the product, I would always explain it. It's like giant Lego for their garden. And people always said to me, oh, you should really take this on Dragon's Den. It's like the sort of product that they would just love and you would get well on with a show. And I was always a bit daunted. Didn't really want to put myself in the limelight. But I decided to fill out the forms online on the Dragon's Den website. And then within 2 days, the producer got back to us and said, yeah, we'd love to have you down for an audition. And we went down for that day of filming, and we were actually in the den for for 3 hours of the time. So although they condensed that down to like 10 minutes, you know, we were actually in there for 3 hours of just non-stop on your feet being questioned by these guys. And we got a good result on the end, and because we were the last people on the show that night, we got sort of 10-15 minute section at the end, which was really helped launch WoodBlocX to a wider market. That must have been 2012, 2013. And so we decided, right, if we do get this, we're going to need a couple more people to help us as well. So that was when we got Harry on board, so that was 3 of us. And from then on, basically, since we were on the Dragon's Den, that really got the momentum going. And we've grown almost 50-60% every 2 years since then. And so now we're at a stage where there's 6 of us in the office, and there's 6 of us full-time out in the yard as well. I think the thing that made WoodBlocX a success, or has made it viable for us, is the fact that the delivery process now we can do overnight anywhere in the UK, 24 hours from here in Dingwall. So if someone phones up and orders some WoodBlocX on a Tuesday, we can have it picked that day. It'll be picked up the Wednesday and delivered on the Thursday. And that is now, because of the pallet networks in the UK, the price of that's been driven down really low. And so we can afford to ship it directly from here, direct to the customer. And the other thing that's happened since 2002 is that everyone has got much more confidence shopping online. We see it on our website now. Is when we first started off when we first built the website, there was 90% of the traffic was all on desktops. And now it's moved that there's only 25% of the traffic's on desktops, 75% is all on mobiles, it's all on iPads, and people just have the confidence now just to order directly online. We started off very simply selling raised beds, and we've pretty much now cemented our place as selling probably the best raised bed kits in the UK anywhere, and we're now selling them into Germany and the Czech Republic and Austria as well. And we've also discovered that WoodBlocX it works really well from a designer's point of view, because they can use our system to create any shape or size raised bed or planting area or street furniture that they want to. So these are the guys that have really taken WoodBlocX as a sort of system and a concept, and they've come up with really amazing and interesting ideas and built it into their designs.
Well, I'm not getting any younger, I'm getting grayer by the day, and in a few more, I've got 1 more sawmill to build, and then probably I'll duck out. But Henry has got the bull by the horns now, and he's going to make WoodBlocX into a very special product. I think we have a problem in this country that we're not growing enough trees, we're not replanting enough trees, so that's going to hold us back a bit. But we will become more sophisticated. I think WoodBlocX will go from strength to strength, possibly to the next generation after that. I hope so. That would be my dream.
One of the things that I'm probably most proud of is being able to sort of reinvigorate an idea that my dad and Norman had in almost 15 years ago, that they kind of let go to sleep, and find another use for it and actually see it growing and working. And the staff and the lads that we've got in the office now that are all working on WoodBlocX, because it's enabled me to put together a really good bunch of friends and a sort of really good work ethos in the office. And it's made it a nice place to come and work for everyone.